Okay.
Hello, and welcome to the Mid-Ohio Valley Public Forum video podcast. I'm Jennifer Bryant.
And I'm Kim Van Ryn.
And we're your co-hosts. The current pandemic has changed life quite a bit in our country.
And this is an election year. One of the things that has changed is candidates are not able to get out and campaign the way they normally would. We hope these podcasts will enable you to get better acquainted with the candidates and make a more informed choice when you do your voting.
Make sure you check out all our videos and make an informed decision as a voter. Election day is less than a month away and people are already voting.
Okay. Today we'll be interviewing J.R. Carpenter. J.R. is the incumbent city council member for District 5, and he is running for re-election for District 5. Welcome, J.R. We're so glad you could join us this afternoon.
Thank you, and thank you for what you guys are doing, especially at this pandemic and this unusual election year.
It has been unusual. For those who may have missed our conversation with you during the primary, which we're going to link down below in the comments, take just a minute and introduce us to J.R. Carpenter and tell us why you decided to run for re-election.
Well, for re-election, that's a little more specific. My name's J.R. Carpenter. I am a local businessman, was temporarily unemployed thanks to COVID. We hope to open our restaurant back up at least on the weekends because there's not a lot of traffic in downtown Parkersburg, coming up fairly soon, probably next month. Although after today's revelations, we may rethink that as well. I decided to run again after getting involved in the city government and how things are done. It's painfully obvious that the charter is we are the checks and balances. Our position as council people is to watch out for our tax monies, and also a liaison for our district with the administration, all of which I enjoy. But I see that this is not taken as seriously by others. And quite honestly, it disturbs me that there was such agreement without research when the buck stops with us, period. And that's without, how do I say this without seeming arrogant? Without people like us to point out things and get them out in the open, you may never really know what happened. This is very poorly phrased, and I really apologize.
You gonna call yourself the sunlight? Are you the disinfectant?
Yeah, well, I've been called a lot of names up there by a lot of them. And most of it involves, slippery substances, I guess. But the truth is, I just like to get to, on any point, what is the effect for us long-term, positive, negative, and is this the wise place to put our tax money? And that's pretty much the bottom line. And I'm not scared to ask those questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, JR, we take for granted that you are running for office in order to be of service to the people of District 5. So take a moment and tell us a little bit about District 5. Where's it located? And what are the three major problems you see in your district?
Well, they're pretty mirrored across the city on a few of them, but my District 5 is basically downtown Parkersburg, and the borders over Quincy, over the hill to Jackson Avenue on the riverside of Jackson Avenue. So Jackson Avenue all the way to the river to 13th Street, to come back over on Quincy, and then we go out St. Mary's Avenue, and I have a little block of Lynn Street from 16th to 19th, and then I'm back out down Stadium Drive across PHS. These are the geographical boundaries. And then you go all the way to the stadium and turn left, back out to 19th Street. That is all District 5. And then you go out 19th Street to Murdoch Avenue and just keep going till you hit Pond Run. Everything to the river is District 5. Geographically, it's one of the largest districts geographically, but I also comprise of a lot of the businesses in town. The downtown area and whatnot comprise mostly of businesses. So I've got Beechwood, I've got the Avery Street Historic, the Juliana Historic. I've got, and basically everybody in that geographic area. And you actually wanted me to continue. So,
So what are the three problems that most impact your district?
what would most impact right now? I would think that I know the largest problem we have that needs to be corrected as soon as possible is in the Beechwood district. Now, Beechwood has been paying for that flood wall fee since its inception in 1952, up until finally got it repealed and shared amongst the city. But they have two streets that our stormwater drains are either clogged, collapsed. I'm really not sure. The engineering, I've never gotten specifics, but we have identified the problem. And on a normal rain, it actually will back up the streets and water where I physically know of 2 car claims for flooding sitting on a city street. Water was above the driveway. And the neighborhoods know it. They park in the church lot up and down when it starts raining. They rush to get their cars moved. Should they really have to do this? They paid to protect this city for decades, and we're allowing them to get flooded from within the walls. This is one thing that really needs to be addressed and be addressed quickly is the flooding down there. It does affect personal property and value, and there's no reason to do it. We just need to focus on fixing this drainage issue. And that's the biggest physical problem. And the other 2 problems that we recognize besides, I don't want to say theft, your vandalism, your theft. It's the same pretty much across the city, I think, but it's getting more and more prevalent in our district, more brazen. We have camera networks, but that doesn't seem to help with identifying with the police to get things corrected, but at least it's a deterrent. And I guess it goes hand in hand with the homeless wandering. So your vandalism and your homeless, we've been working on building neighborhoods up. I'm going to go into 4 because we've got a lot of rental homes that were in disarray that we have been very fortunate to get people to own them that are investing money into Covert Street and Beaver Street. And if you drive down those blocks, it's not going to be too much longer till those are back to fantastic neighborhoods. They weren't when I first took office, but I'm seeing a big change. And I think that's fantastic. So what was the other part of the question? I'm going to pretend like I'm a mayor and say, what was that question?
No, that was it. The rest of the question now is, what are your plans for addressing those issues?
Well, obviously, we're going to have to get with engineering and find out what funding. I know it's going to be money to fix this problem, but it doesn't really matter. We need to get that fixed, and that needs to be a priority. Before, all the other areas that flooded were high traffic count areas. All right, and that's great. I get it. You got to prioritize sometimes where you put your money. And this is residential, but they've suffered enough. We need to get that fixed. We need to fix this summer. I was told it'd be fixed last summer. I think we went over budget on what the projections were to fix the previous stormwater, but we need to focus on doing that. And as for, we're actually helping ourselves in our district. We're the church behind Market Street. There's a I don't remember the name of the church off the top of my head where I'm sitting.
The Presbyterian Church?
Yes, they did a remarkable job clearing out that valley where they were getting a lot of guests spending the night. And they were going to make a walking park, and I think they're still in tune to that. I've been in touch with them. I have not gotten a call back. It's starting to get grown over, and we're seeing more people try to move back in. So, but we're going to be deterring, and that's all voluntary. You know, getting rid of the brush and maintaining your property is tantamount. What I would like to do, it doesn't matter what I'd like to do. It only matters what the administration wants to do. And that leads me to the point that I think that would help the city the most is we really need to look at changing our charter from a strong mayor to a management style charter. That would put more accountability on people in my position as council. You come to me with a problem, I now have the ability to follow it through to the end instead of just making a phone call and getting, oh, it's on the list. And I have no time frame to tell you what, when, where, how. And that seems to be a trend we have had in the past 5 years. Has gotten steadily worse with no timetables to get anything done. And it just kind of leaves us in a lurch.
Well, JR, voters don't often have the opportunity, especially this year, to get to know their elected representatives as individuals, as people, and not as candidates. So we'd like to take a few minutes and ask you a couple of questions about J.R. Carpenter, the person, and not J.R. Carpenter, the candidate or city council member.
Do I answer as the fat guy or the unemployed cook?
What
Go ahead. Sorry.
what would you say you are most passionate about?
Most passionate about? Family. I thoroughly enjoy, my family gets together. Now my son left town and as a matter of fact, he's been gone over a year teaching in Houston, Texas. Found a wonderful young lady that sounds pretty serious, but now they're starting to he's starting to say, wait a second, she may not want to move back and I miss my family. We would have, you know, our weekly, daily get-togethers with the grandkids, and you there's no money. There's nothing you can compare with your family. I'm sorry. I know golf would probably be number 2, but and construction. Maybe because I'm a cook, it's why that I like to. I'm redoing, as a matter of fact, to give you a glimpse. Well, perhaps you see that dock over there. That did have a cover on it, but I'm tearing it apart and putting a new one on for next year. And I enjoy this kind of work. It's relaxing. So basically, I like to work too. That's probably a workaholic when you get down to it, because I'm all the time doing something with my hands, my brain. The only time my brain shuts down is when I get in that. I have an easy chair that levitates sometimes, and I have to get in it to hold it down.
So JR, what qualities do you like to see or have in the people around you?
Qualities. Well, honesty would be the first. Forthright, honesty, truthfulness. I'm shying away from the word loyalty. That would imply that there is some sort of need for power. There is no need for power. To have a relationship, you just need to be sometimes brutally honest. So, and you need to separate personal from business. A problem in our city, especially on council, for some reason, people cannot separate our business as council people from being taken personally as individuals. And I guess I assumed everybody had that quality, but it's been painfully obvious to me that not everybody possesses that.
Well, you've already touched on this a little. I would say, you know, golf and working on your different projects, but what do you like to do in your off time?
That is my off time. I'm stuck on manic and manic depressant. The switch has been stuck for years. I don't know if it'll ever unstick until I'm carried off.
Well, now it's time for us to give you a few minutes to tell us and the voters anything else you think we need to know, including how to get a yard sign or get in touch with you, get more information, donate, etc.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the candor for donations. I do have yard signs. If anybody is interested, I would be happy to deliver them in a safe manner with gloves, perhaps even an entire suit on. But basically, this is a unique year, guys, and the election year. Maybe it's because I'm not really a politician at heart. The COVID has kind of been an interruption, but also a blessing. I think that these elections are a report card for what we have done, how we have represented the district in the past. And if I'm not doing a good job, if you're not satisfied, by all means, replace me. I mean, that's the tail of the tape is on voter day. And if you don't feel I'm doing an adequate job, this is what it's all about. Time to replace us. And I'm not spending a lot of time because of COVID knocking on doors because I don't really feel that's necessary. If I'm not doing it, by golly, I accept the results of the election one way or the other. I enjoyed having the honor of representing our district. I have always enjoyed addressing people's individual problems. My phone number has never been the city's phone number. My email, I have my own email. You can use the city's, but it might take some time to get to me, but I'm happy to share that. My phone number is 304-481-9174. My email is jrdistrict5@gmail.com. When I'm open, if it's urgent, I'm down at work. Come down and see me. I can't hide from you in the kitchen. I'm not going to. But since I'm not at work, I'm at home. I live at 1329 Market. There's no secrets here. Our job is representing, as a councilman, I represent District 5, and some people above us forget that they are elected to represent in other areas. I'm to be accessible to you. And you deserve answers back if you have a concern or an issue. You need to be heard. And that being a sounding board is what we are. So, but again, I'm going back to, hey, if I'm not doing a good enough job, if you're unsatisfied, I'm not going to please 100% of the people, but no one can say I've never called them back. No one can say they've never heard back from me or addressed an issue. Not one person has that right, because I know that that doesn't happen. As a business person, I respect the fact when I do business with others that they get back to me immediately, and that's just the way it is. That's the way I was brought up. You can blame my father and mother for that. But this is going to be an interesting year, and I already found out in the preliminary or the primary that all this Facebook chatter that people do has no bearing on the outcome whatsoever. Because there's certain people should have lost in the primary that won. I'm watching the Facebook chatter and everything, and it had no bearing whatsoever. So, but yes, if you would like a sign, I'll be happy to deliver one. I go through my district probably at least one to two times a month. I'll just drive through, looking around. I'm not looking for things to complain about. There's people bring enough to me. I don't have to go in search of. But I like to get an idea when they talk, like Mr. B. They wanted to take some right away from the city to build on their plant down there on 33rd Street. And there was concerns from the neighborhood that you can't block off West Virginia Avenue. It's also known as West Virginia Avenue, because of commercial traffic. Well, I was down there. I saw what they were doing, and it's all okay. We've increased commerce and kept the neighborhood happy. Matter of fact, they may have helped some of our stormwater problem down there. by burying tanks. That was part of the deal. But I like to drive around and peek, and I haven't seen no activity from anybody. No signs, except for President. And yes, I do want to go shake some people's hands for the presidential signs, but that's a different story. I got off the tangent as I most often do. I apologize. You are going to edit this, right?
Yes, JR, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're so glad that you could, and let the voters get better acquainted with you. And good luck with your campaign. And everyone, remember, wash your hands.